Cody Rhodes may just be the most popular man on the planet. As of the making of this video, he's still trending on social media and has been trending on social media for the better part of 72 hours because of the hashtag We Want Cody movement. And because I'm a content creator and I'm in the economy of getting eyeballs, I'm gonna take advantage of this and continue to talk a little bit more about Cody Rhodes. But instead of talking about the controversy, the things going on between Cody, The Rock, Roman, this press conference, WrestleMania, instead we're gonna look back at Cody Rhodes' career ever since coming back from All Elite Wrestling when he returned to the WWE in 2022. So today we're going to be tier ranking all of Cody Rhodes' main feuds since coming back to the WWE, and we're going to rank them from Hall of Fame all the way down to trash. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm really confident that you're going to fall in love with this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's jump into it. All right, so here are the tiers that we're going to be using. We have Hall of Fame, great, good, meh, and trash. Now, Hall of Fame is reserved for the best of the absolute best, and trash is reserved, well, for the complete opposite, for the almost borderline unwatchable. Let's start off with the feud that brought Cody Rhodes back to the WWE, that being his trilogy with Seth Rollins, a feud that started at WrestleMania 38 back in 2002 and culminated in 3 entire PLE cycles and finished off at Hell in a Cell 2022 in the infamous match where Cody Rhodes had a torn pec. Right off the get-go, it's important to note that their match at WrestleMania 38 was just a match. There was no feud, there was no build-up. I guess the build-up really revolved around Seth Rollins and his inability to capture a marquee WrestleMania main event match or a world title match or any WrestleMania match of any regard. So he went into that year's WrestleMania with no opponent, no one to build a feud with. Instead, it was announced that he would be having a match with a mystery opponent of Vince McMahon's choice. That, of course, ended up being the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, who had just returned from AEW, which is really notable considering he was one of the founders of AEW, and he came to the WWE more or less with his AEW and independent circuit shtick, with the American Nightmare moniker, with his entrance theme, with just about every look and feel that he had built outside of the WWE. So it was a pretty marquee moment in WWE to have such a major star that, when you think about it, didn't really build themselves as a superstar in the WWE. They became a superstar somewhere else, but they're getting the superstar treatment the second they come back to the WWE. It was pretty new at this time to have somebody be treated the way that Cody Rhodes was with a marquee WrestleMania return. It's not normal. However, it ultimately flourished into a beautiful trilogy of matches. Yes, the first match didn't have any sort of feud or story behind it, but then afterwards, it told this really great story of Seth Rollins refusing to believe that Cody Rhodes was better than him and continued to gun after Cody Rhodes, demanding more matches, losing to Cody Rhodes again clean at WrestleMania Backlash, culminating in one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches that I've ever seen in my lifetime. It was a Hell in a Cell match that, frankly, when you think about it, had no business even happening, considering earlier that day Cody Rhodes tore his pec muscle, and when he revealed that injury, it was more gruesome than any of us could have ever imagined, with his entire chest being covered in purple and red. It was gross. And to add really further fuel to this already amazing feud in an amazing match that they would go on to have at Hell in a Cell, Seth Rollins comes out in the famous Dusty Rhodes WWE polka dots. This match had it all. Of course, it was a Hell in a Cell match. It was a match that went on for over 20 minutes when Cody Rhodes is really fighting with one arm. We had sledgehammers. It even turned into a Texas bull rope match at one point or another. And the feud did kind of continue on beyond Hell in a Cell. When he ended up coming back from injury, there was always this animosity, even though they were now both baby faces, and even at points were forced to team up with one another to take out a bigger, larger threats with the likes of the Judgment Day. But you can tell that there's still that animosity in the air when they're there. Cody Rhodes is still 3-0 against Seth Rollins, and I'm sure at some point or another the WWE is going to revisit this feud. But I think it was a fantastic, phenomenal feud to reintroduce this new version of Cody Rhodes, this main event version of Cody Rhodes, to the WWE universe. And honestly, there's no bigger stamp of approval than having him 3-0 sweep your number 2 guy in the entire company. This entire feud, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, not only is it a Hall of Fame worthy feud for, Cody Rhodes, but to me, it's one of the best feuds of the last 10 years. It's a phenomenal feud, and it's one that I look forward to being able to revisit once more time has passed. This instantly goes into the Hall of Fame. Next up, let's look at Cody Rhodes' second feud in the WWE, which just so happens to be with the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. So think about this. Cody Rhodes leaves the WWE, goes to AEW, helps build the competition, and immediately comes back to the WWE and is feuding with the number 1 and the number 2 guy of the WWE back to back. That is a pretty crazy stamp of approval from the WWE that Cody Rhodes is going to be one of their main event players, their face of the company moving forward. I will say the feud with Roman Reigns was a short one, and I understand why they didn't really dive into this feud as soon as he won the Royal Rumble match, because Roman Reigns was entrenched in a otherworldly fantastic feud with Sami Zayn and the rest of the bloodline that culminated in an amazing match at that year's Elimination Chamber, which meant that Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns couldn't really get going until after Elimination Chamber, which, if you go back and look at the calendar, really only gave Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns about 3.5 weeks to build this match. And in those 3.5 weeks, I will say, I think they did a phenomenal job. I was incredibly excited for Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. It's interesting to note as well that this was sort of a pit stop for Roman Reigns, where he was entrenched in so many feuds that involved the bloodline over the last couple of months. But now we were back to Roman Reigns having a feud that revolved around being the face of the company, being the number 1 and being the champion. So it was a nice change of pace while the bloodline stuff continued on with Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and the Usos. I will say this loses points for a couple of reasons. One, like I said, ultimately, when you think back at it, it was a bit of a half-baked feud because they just didn't have enough time to really cook in the oven. And 2, it didn't continue beyond that because they were trying to, of course, save it for next year's WrestleMania. We now know what's going on now with with the power of hindsight. We now know that maybe they should have done a couple of more Roman versus Cody matches throughout the year, as opposed to making us wait a year and then yanking that away from us. Either way, we'll see how all of this plays out. But in the aftermath of the WrestleMania match, there was little to no interaction, not just between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, but then Cody Rhodes and basically the entire bloodline went their separate ways. Yes, there was the night after WrestleMania kind of feud and kind of match that almost started between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns in a tag match that involved Brock Lesnar. But then that turned into a feud with Brock Lesnar, which we're going to talk in just a second. So that didn't really add anything to the feud that was Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. There was the stare down in that episode of SmackDown, but they haven't really done much here to continue to build this feud, again, as of the making of this video. So I'm going to put this into the good category. However, I think in a few years, we're going to look back on this feud and it's going to be into the Hall of Fame category. Right now, I still think we're in the early stages of Cody Rhodes versus the Roman Reigns story. Hey folks, do you want even more wrestling content? Because you can get more wrestling content over at patreon.com/SantiZap. The review for Monday Night Raw is already up there. The most recent episode of Wrestling is Cool just released today, and you're going to get that 3 days earlier than everyone over there. And of course, you're going to get the rest of the reviews, like of course all of the Raw, SmackDown, NXT reviews. So go check it out. It's just more wrestling content if you want more. If the daily stuff on here isn't enough, to satisfy the wrestling itch, patreon.com/SantiZap. Check the link in the description or the pinned comment. That's it. I'm done with the sellout. Back to the video. Next up, we have a feud that I guarantee you forgot about. It was the Money in the Bank feud that led into a match between Cody Rhodes and Dirty Dominic Mysterio. A feud that more or less culminated with Dominic Mysterio bitch slapping Cody Rhodes whenever he could and then running away laughing like an evil villain with Rhea Ripley. I was going to say with Rhea Ripley in his hands, but he's more so being carried in Rhea Ripley's hands. The match sort of just felt like a Monday Night Raw match. There really wasn't much to it. Again, The feud, if you think about it, is really more of a precursor to a larger overarching feud that would go on to happen, which was the feud with the entirety of Judgment Day. But I mean, I guess we still need to talk about this one. But the buildup was pretty weak. The motivations behind the match were kind of non-existent. I think this was just, hey, Money in the Bank is a big show. We don't have Brock Lesnar here for Cody to have a match with, but we want Cody on the card because he's one of our biggest baby faces. Let's toss him in here somehow. And I guess, to be fair, Dominic Mysterio at this time was arguably the most over heel in the entire company. But I don't know, it just sort of, this was the start of the meme known as Cody Rhodes side quests. And I think this is about as side quest as it gets. So I'm going to say this is pretty meh. All right, next up, let's talk about a very divisive feud. The feud between Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. A feud that to this day, I still don't know why they were feuding. If you go back to that Raw after Mania, I still cannot tell you for the life of me why Brock Lesnar attacked Cody Rhodes. Some people were like, oh, well, that was just Brock Lesnar trying to test to see if Cody Rhodes was ready for the tribal chief. And some people were saying, oh, he was just taking his frustration out because he wasn't in the main event of that WrestleMania and Cody was. Look, at the end of the day, it was a heel turn that made no sense, but we ran with it, and we ran with it to the point where it actually gave us not one, not two, but three PLE matches in 2023. It gave us the match at Backlash, which main evented Backlash, and it shouldn't have main evented Backlash. It also gave us the match at Night of Champions, and it also gave us the culmination of the feud at SummerSlam. Okay, so I will tell you right now, I was never a fan of this feud, mostly because when it comes to feuds, I'm a very narrative-driven individual. Like, I want to know the reason as to why I should care. I want to know the reason behind the actions. And when I can't understand the motivations of really either player here, Cody Rhodes or Brock Lesnar, it really took me away from the immersion of the experience. So I was never fully into the Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar feud. When I look at the Backlash match, I get it. It's cool. It got super bloody, but it was 9 minutes and main evented a show that they shouldn't have main evented. The Bad Bunny match should have main evented. Then we look at the match at Night of Champions. It was pretty lackluster as well. It was nowhere near, I would say, even like the top 2 or 3 matches of that show. And then the SummerSlam match was probably their best match of them all. But I know we were at the culmination of this trilogy. And even when we're at the finish line of that trilogy, I'm like, I don't know why I'm supposed to care. I don't know what the motivations of Brock Lesnar are, and I don't know what Cody Rhodes gains out of beating this, aside from, of course, the respect of beating somebody like a Brock Lesnar. I will say, if we wanted to tell a story about adversity, then yes, that's cool. I think Cody Rhodes feuding with Brock Lesnar is about as adversity as it gets. Brock Lesnar is an absolute freak that will eat you alive, but even in the narrative of the trilogy, they never really brought that up as a motivation of Cody Rhodes. So I was always just emotionally removed from this feud, and I never really got into it. So the matches were I can forgive if the story is great, if my emotions behind the feud are like fever pitch, but it never was. So it's kind of crazy, but frankly, I feel like there was more motivation and more understanding of why Dominic and Cody were feuding. So I'm going to put this right next to it. I'm going to put it into the meh category. Next up, let's talk about another Cody Rhodes side quest, the feud against the tag team of Damian Priest and Finn Balor. But more than anything, the reason why this was so entertaining was because it gave us the short-lived tag team of the main event Nightmare, main event Jey Uso, and the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. Look, I think the feud, this microcosm of a feud that happened, that had a match at Fastlane where Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, in my opinion, out of nowhere, shockingly, and in a pleasant surprise, won the unified tag team titles, and then would go on to lose them at Raw. Jimmy Uso would get involved and cost Jey the match, shenanigans, yada, yada, yada. And just like the Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio feud, this really was a precursor to the bigger feud at War Games that we're going to talk about in a second, between all of Judgment Day and like the top baby faces of Monday Night Raw. I had a lot of fun watching the matches. I think they were very good. I guess even from a narrative point of view, I appreciated the story that was being told between mostly Cody and Jey Uso, with Cody trying to be the one that's, I guess, mentoring Jey Uso and bringing him to the good side, and having the rest of the locker room of Monday Night Raw realize that Jey Uso has changed his ways. So I enjoyed this feud, I gotta say, and more so than anything, I really like the in-ring action. I'm gonna put this into the good category. Next up, we have Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest, and again, just another precursor to the bigger feud that was Cody Rhodes and the Babyfaces versus all of Judgment Day. When I was originally following this feud and I watched the match at Crown Jewel, as I was doing my predictions for Crown Jewel, something that I said that I still stick to is that this just sort of felt like a forced Monday Night Raw match happening on a PLE, for the sake of, just like on Money in the Bank, being able to say that you have one of your biggest stars on the show, Cody Rhodes. Because the feud that was happening on Monday Night Raw was a bigger feud between, again, Babyfaces and Judgment Day, this sort of just felt like a slice of the bigger pie. And because it was just a slice of the bigger picture, the bigger feud, this never really felt like it had any legs to go anywhere beyond just continuing to set up the further feud with all of Judgment Day. So Damian Priest, Cody Rhodes didn't really do a heck of a whole lot, didn't really have too many legs, and frankly is a match that didn't even need to belong in a PLE when, in the grand scheme of things, you think about it. I'm going to put this into the meh category as well. Okay, so here we go. We have the actual feud with the Judgment Day. However, this isn't just Cody Rhodes. This is all of the babyfaces of Monday Night Raw, which ended up being, of course, Jey Uso, Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, and Cody Rhodes against all of the members of Judgment Day. Except R-Truth. Of course, R-Truth is the most important member of the Judgment Day. He wasn't involved just yet, but I'm just saying, if R-Truth was in this, I think that the bad guys could have won here. This was a more or less 6-month feud when you start to break things down and you think about it, because Sami Zayn had been feuding with the Judgment Day for a very long time. Seth Rollins spent the entire summer feuding with Finn Balor and Damian Priest. We had the attempted recruitment of Jey Uso, and of course the constant battles on Monday Night Raw and pay-per-views between Cody Rhodes and all the individual members of the Judgment Day. And also Drew McIntyre was in there, but that's not really what we're talking about. Drew McIntyre really isn't, I guess, part of the Cody Rhodes narrative, at least not yet as of the making of this video. The War Games match was phenomenal. It was a very, very well orchestrated, very well choreographed car crash. It obviously had the return of Randy Orton. What I will say is, maybe I'm in the minority here. This feud frustrated the ever-living hell out of me because for 4 months, it was every episode of Monday Night Raw went like this. Show starts, Judgment Day opens, all rise for the Judgment Day. One of the 5 or 4 baby faces comes out and interrupts, which sets up a one-on-one, a tag match, or a 6-man tag match at the end of the night. And then at the end of the night, that tag match, singles match, or 6-man tag match happens, but then Judgment Day comes in and cheats and breaks everything up, and then we end up in a brawl. Or if the baby faces are having a match with not Judgment Day, then Judgment Day would come in and interfere and everything would end in chaos. It was 4 months of the exact same formula of Monday Night Raw, and it created a lot of frustration with fans. But I will say, at the very least, there was a proper culmination of this. And I can appreciate that with feuds, where even if the road through the feud can be a little bit frustrating, a little bit mundane, and a little bit repetitive, at the very least, I appreciate that there was a very, very strong payoff. So I'll put this into the good category, even though there was a lot of frustration along the way. Next up, we have really the only one of these feuds that hasn't culminated in a match at a premium live event, but a feud that, in my opinion, has been very good. We have the feud between Cody Rhodes and Shinsuke Nakamura, a feud that started with a great match that ended in a disqualification with Shinsuke Nakamura misting Cody Rhodes. Then we had a great street fight, a match that Cody Rhodes ended up winning, and then we just recently had a bull rope match. So I guess kind of similarly to Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes ended up going 3-0 against Shinsuke Nakamura. More than anything, I appreciate this feud for its attempt to treat Shinsuke Nakamura like a very serious, big deal, evil, bad guy, anime villain, Yakuza style thing. I really appreciated that. Sure, was it a side quest in the grander narrative of Cody Rhodes and his path to redeem himself and win the Royal Rumble again and go to WrestleMania? Yeah, it is. But not every single feud needs to be this grandiose event. Not every single feud needs to be constant PLE matches. Sometimes, like, you can just have free on TV matches and have a great feud and a great narrative behind it. And you know, like, I get it. Like, yeah, the stakes weren't there, but the motivation was there for both. You have Shinsuke Nakamura, who has been a thorn on the side of every good guy, trying to demonstrate that they are lesser than, that they aren't as good as they portray themselves on TV. We had Nakamura making fun of Cody Rhodes' dad, saying all of these awful things. And then, of course, Cody Rhodes playing the gallant hero in this story, trying to take out Nakamura for all of the stupid shit he's been saying about him and his family, calling his family and him inbreds, and of course, getting revenge for all of the surprise attacks and the miss. So to me, there was a very simple, cohesive narrative, and a lot, like, the two matches, I didn't really like the bull rope match, but the match that ended in no disqualification and the street fight, I think were both fantastic. Better than the match that he had with, frankly, with any of the Brock Lesnar matches. And I think the matches were better than the Damian Priest match and the Dominic Mysterio match. This could have easily been a PLE side quest for Cody Rhodes, but we were lucky enough to get it on TV. Look, part of the reason I'm putting it in great is because it was free and we all got to watch it. I'm going to put it in great. I know some people didn't love it, but in my opinion, I thought it was really well crafted. And you know what? I added one extra one just for fun. Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. Yo, where do we stand on this whole thing? Do we want a Cody Rhodes versus The Rock match at some point to happen? Because I'm gonna be honest, I kind of want a Cody Rhodes versus The Rock match. I obviously can't really rank this, but I mean, just the simple fact that it's given us one of the biggest social media movements in wrestling history. I'm kind of, just for fun, obviously this is kind of an unranked one, but I'm just gonna lightly toss it into Hall of Fame because, my goodness, whether it was intentional or not intentional, I have never seen wrestling this, not necessarily even divided. It's more unified under one cause, the We Want Cody movement. The fact that this is getting wrestling so much mainstream coverage, this is huge. And I know that the debate is, who's going to face Roman Reigns? I'm kind of over here maybe being like, maybe we should get Cody versus The Rock. I don't know. Either way, that one doesn't really count. I just wanted to toss it there so that we could talk a little bit about it. But that's it, folks. That's my ranking. Nothing's in the trash, which is good. You could have made a debate that maybe Damian Priest in the trash, but I'm happy with this list. You let me know what you think I got wrong. That's it. I'm done. Get out of here.